And welcome back again. Boy, looks like we got that sun out here. It's really not the sun, it's my light. There we go. And welcome back again, yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest, Midnight at the Oasis. And here we go. Hope you've had a good couple of days. You picked myself up right here. In case you missed a couple of shows, Midnight at the Oasis. This is a Keeping It Honest production. What we try to do on this show every night at 12 o'clock. Good morning, good night to you. We try to spend a couple minutes and tell you about the day's events and also what's happening tomorrow. Hope you had a good day. Let's say a prayer real quick. Dear God, we thank you for everybody watching. We pray that as people watch the show, it continues to grow. We thank you for the support. We pray that anybody watching the show that they have health and happiness. And even if people aren't watching the show, that they still have health and happiness. And God and whoever their significant being is, be with them. Amen. And who says we can't be thankful for what we do? These shows are what creators do, and the creator, if he's your creator, helped create this show. So we thank you. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You like to leave me a voice message, you can do that. Or text 216-702-3718. Excuse me, 216-702-3718. I have my spot of tea here. It's kind of like the nighttime version of that Scott Adams show. He created, I forget, a comic strip, and he does a commentary every day. So check him out. I would love to have him on one of my shows. So I do a show in the daytime or anytime because it's streaming called Keeping It Honest. We try to get the left side, try to get the right side, and at the end of the day, hopefully you decide. You may not like what we have, but we do give you the truth. I thank you. We do 5 second shorts, 10 seconds, 15, 20-minute videos, half-hour videos, an hour video, 2 hour videos, and sometimes 3 hour videos. We have covered all of the rallies that have been happening, taking place, most of them anyway. We've covered Kamala's rally. We've covered Trump's rally, Vance's rally. And whenever Waltz does his rally, we'll cover his, but we've covered him with her. So tonight's show. Yesterday I told you the story I was going to do. And the headline is Sarah Edelman thinks she may finally be ready to hear what condemned killer Arthur Lee Burton has to say as he faces execution in Texas. So we're going to read about this. So the homework was, did this guy get executed? So we're going to give you the background on this story. Then we're going to give you, before the show ends, the result. Kind of like a Dateline show. But he's been on a trial, or he's been on death row. Man, he killed this lady in 1997. So he's been on death row for some decades. My question is, too, are you for or against the death penalty? Should people pay an eye for an eye for crimes that they commit? I'm going to go back a couple years ago. I think it was George Bush 1. He was governor of, I want to say Texas. I hope I'm right. So there was this lady um, who was on execution trial, I guess, or death row for this killing that she did. And I guess she had been, as far as the country, ready to kill her, death row, for many years. So while she was in prison, she became saved. She became a Christian, started preaching to people, and were having followers. People confessed their life to God, giving their lives to God. So she was making a difference while she was in prison. But when she was outside of prison, before that, she killed somebody. So, excuse me. So while she's on death row and her execution was about to come, people were trying to get a stay of execution because they're like, you know what, she's saving lives now in jail. And the paper, the stay of execution, went to George Bush. I think it was George Bush the first one. It might have been George Bush the second one. I don't know. I can't remember right now. But you can check my story. So the Pope at that time, because her story was worldwide, she's saving people. They're about to execute her. Please don't execute this lady that's making a difference now after such a bad life outside of jail. And they gave the paperwork to George Bush, either the first or second, when he was governor, with the backing of the Pope saying, please don't execute her. And George Bush, the first or the second, said, you know, are we going to keep her alive? He's like, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not signing it. So he decided not to sign it. And they executed her. And I was like, wow. He ran for president and became president. But you figure, is that a person that you would still give a stay of execution because she was making such a difference? She gave her life to Christ and was turned and was helping people. I had felt back then and still do. I mean, can people change? Some people can change. Should they have kept her alive? Who knows how many lives she would have saved? Yes, she killed somebody, but God turned her life around. It's an eye for an eye when somebody kills somebody. So we're going to talk about the story about this guy that killed somebody. Very difficult story, but I need you to listen to this, and then I'm going to give you the outcome of it. Um, Today, Donald Trump gave an hour-long press conference, and we're really going to go deep in that on another show. But a 1 hour press conference. Any questions asked? When's the last time he done that? Okay, he decided to do that, but yet you can't get a press conference from the vice president who's running for president. Okay, um, there's going to be 3 debates now. Trump is ready for them. Kamala says, well, I'm going to do one and we'll see about that. So we're going to have something from Jesse Waters. He's a Fox News host, and he's going to talk about some of the debate stuff, and we're going to include our analysts in it. And I thought this was interesting. On my phone, when I get comments from videos and everything, I put out there, who do you think is going to win, Trump or Harris? And 90% of my votes have been Trump. So I guess that may be showing I might have a Republican kind of audience. I don't know, but I try to lean always. And on some shows, we're going to read what some of those texts are about because I put stuff out there and I'm getting serious texts. Some conspiracy theories, some are just people being very thoughtful. So I'm going to share that with you on one of these upcoming shows. And also, I want you to support my Patreon page if you can. It's a page where you go there, you type in patreon.com, and it's 3 tiers. You're keeping it real. And there's 3 tiers. And these are like PBS where you can contribute money, which is good. You see the kind of work we do. We do live shows, tape shows, everything. We put a lot of work into it. We're having fun. I enjoy this stuff. This is a great, great thing. And it helps my show grow. You guys helped us develop this Midnight at the Oasis segment. And we're going to keep doing this till we get an audience that's good, that keeps coming. We're trying to do this every night, 4th night in a row. Trying to do it at 12 o'clock. We want to be your last place that you may get news. So you may get regular news that's for today, meaning which just ended, and tomorrow. But then you may get a special feature or something as we're developing these shows every day. So we thank you for supporting us. So I'm trying to see which story I want to do first. Let's talk about this guy. I'm going to read you this. I'll tell you the story. Kind of like a Dateline story. And then from there, you'll know what really happened. But you can close your eyes and listen, kind of like radio, or you can look at me as I read this. And we're keeping it honest. Midnight at the Oasis. So Sarah Edelman thinks she may finally be ready to hear what condemned killer Arthur Lee Burton has to say as he faces execution in Texas. Our question is, did he get executed? So when Sarah Edelman woke up on Wednesday, her first order of business, she said, was to go for a long run. It was a fitting tribute to her mom, Nancy, who was strangled to death nearly 3 decades ago while jogging in the Brays Bayou River near her Houston home. She was 48 years old at the time. So she was 48 years old, and she all she was doing was taking a jog. I have continued to run since she was killed, Sarah told the Independence. That's one of the things that has enabled me to feel close to her still. So I wanted to go on a run this morning to honor her in that way, the anniversary of her being killed. On Wednesday evening, the man who murdered Nancy Abelman on July 29, 1997, is set to die by lethal injection at the state penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas. Her father and one of her two brothers will be at the execution chamber to watch Arthur Lee Burton die. So this was over 27 years ago, almost 3 decades, and she remembers it like it was yesterday. So this guy has been on death row for years. So you keep people on death row for years, it's almost like you're living life in prison. They've lived 27 years in jail. Why couldn't you, if you had to do it, execute them earlier than that? I mean, really, how hard is that? But Sarah, and she's at the age of her mom, or almost, a 43-year-old Denver area yoga therapist who works with traumatic brain surgery survivors, will not be celebrating Burton's execution. Instead, Sarah will remember her mother by holding what she describes as a gratitude and forgiveness ceremony at a local river with her son, two of her closest friends, and their two sons, who are her own boy's best friends. So instead of going to the execution, she's going to celebrate it in another way, if you can celebrate executions. We're going to just play in the river this afternoon. The sound of their laughter is one of the greatest joys of my life. And that's what I wanted to do today, she says. And thinking about what my mom would want, she always said to choose joy. Wow. So later in the evening, Sarah said she is hoping to conduct a fire ceremony during which she will symbolically incinerate those things we no longer want to carry with us, those habits, thoughts, or what have you. And sometimes people at the end of the year, we did this too at a church. We would write down all the bad things that happened to us that year, put in a container, and put a match on it and burn it going into the new year. That was a way people said of getting rid of those all bad spirits and having new spirits for the year. So let me know if you guys have tried something like that. So that's what she was going to do. Anything that was bad, she was burning up. So Nancy Abelman was brutally murdered while jogging near her Houston home. Her daughter later wrote in a memoir about the man who killed her, but for years has kept his reply filed away unopened. So she wrote him a letter, too, backstory, and he wrote her back. She never opened up that letter from him. So now let's go to the story. So sometime after Burton, now 54, was sent to death row, Sarah sent him a letter that she mentioned the existence of, but did not include in her 2019 memoir, The Long Back Blue of Memory, My Mama's Echoes, My mother's echo, sorry. So Burton sent her a letter back. So she sent him a letter. He sent a letter back, but she had never opened it for reasons left unexplained. Well, yeah, I mean, so if somebody sends you a letter, something from your past, are you going to open it? That's interesting. So she's never opened up the letter. I don't know when he sent the letter, though. So on Wednesday, Sarah told the Independence that she wrote to Barton, hoping for answers and information that he would only be able to share while he remained alive. So she wanted to know, why did you kill my mom? She said she told Burton in her note that she hoped he was at peace and that it's available for everybody. Wow. So she's kind of forgiven him in a way. So this is what she says. I mostly wanted to know that he received my words that I had said, and so I requested a response back, she said. And he wrote back, and I still haven't opened the letter. Excuse me. It's something that I wrestle with. It's literally filled in my file cabinets under the file life. Wow. So she's never opened a letter. What would you do? Sarah says she wonders if her refusal to read Burton's letter and reply is a way of holding on to some powers that he's talking, but she's refusing to listen. So she thinks that there's a power in him that's holding it back, holding her back. Now Sarah thinks he may be ready to finally hear what Burton has to say. So he's about to die. So she says, I'm kind of open to what he wants to say. I've kind of thought that perhaps tonight, during the ceremony, that might happen, she said. So she's thinking about opening up that letter while the ceremony is taking place. Here's a story of him now. Arthur Lee Burton was convicted of murdering Nancy Edelman in 1997. His lawyers have appealed his death sentence all the way to the Supreme Court. Wow. Burton can sorry about that. Burton confessed in 1998 to having attempted to rape Nancy Edelman, then strangling her to death with her own shoelaces. Wow. And was convicted of capital murder. So, for any woman who has ever exercised alone or walked their car alone at night, this case is the worst nightmare. And this is what the district attorney had said. Wow. So, during Burton's admission to police more than a quarter century ago, he recounted the unimaginable grace Nancy expressed during her fatal moments. So, as he's killing her, Nancy said something. And what did Nancy say to him that he's telling everybody? As Sarah told the Colorado Sun in 2020, it is impossible for me to try and understand forgiveness without looking to the last words my mother spoke. And those last words were, as he was choking her, I forgive you, and God does too. Wow. So if she can forgive while she's giving out her last breath, can we? Should we? That's tough. At the same time, Sarah said her dad continues to struggle with moving past Nancy's horrible death. So this is almost 30 years ago. And this is what the dad said. I feel like I lost my father. That's what the daughter said. Sorry about that. I feel like I lost my father the same night I lost my mother, she said. He's still here, but he's not the same person. 30 years ago, it has still affected him. So Adam's father and brother will be on hand yesterday to witness Nancy Edelman's killer be executed or he won't. But they're going to be there, and it's taking place inside the death chamber. Wow, at the Texas State Penitentiary. So, if you had an opportunity to see somebody be killed, would you be there? So Burton, however, is hoping for a last-minute reprieve to spare his death, so he doesn't want to die. Burton's lawyers say he is intellectually disabled, and then this is interesting. They continually barred from being put to death. He should be like not put to death because he's disabled. So, and that was according to a 2002 Supreme Court ruling. Wow. So the prosecutors say, so should he be put to death because he's disabled? So the prosecutors say the defense attorney never mentioned anything about their client's disability until a week ago. So if he's been disabled since the early 2000s, why wouldn't this put out at his case that maybe he had a mental problem, did that? Now they're putting it a week before he's supposed to die? Wow. So the disability only then came to light thanks to recently developed evidence. I mean, wasn't it in the paperwork too that you would know about this? So as of Wednesday afternoon, Burton's final appeal remained pending. So his attorney, or through email, says Mr. Burton is a person with an intellectual disability, and his execution today would violate the United States Constitution. Wow. We are hopeful that the Supreme Court will issue a stay of execution and intervene to ensure that the Texas courts follow the Supreme Court and save this guy. So he has expressed some actions, he says, that the High Court might be able to save his life. The earliest he could be put to death is 6 p.m. So, and it's taking place in Texas. So far in Texas, because you're wondering, well, you know what? Will he still be around? Well, so far in Texas, as far as executions, this is the third person this year in Texas. Texas is a tough town. It's always been a tough state. And overall, the 11th execution this year. 11 executions across the country. And in Texas, they have 3 more executions scheduled. Wow, for this year. One in September, 2 in October, and a fourth set for February. They just keep coming. So are you for executions, death penalty? Is that what you would like in your presidential candidate? Let me know. Keeping it honest. So did this guy die? Should that guy die? Is it going to be a stay? Are we going to talk about this guy is still around? Or are we going to talk about this guy is dead? Think about this. Some of the people that were involved in the September 11th attack, they're still alive. They're in prison, but they're still alive. So should they have been executed? Or do they live the rest of their lives in prison? Very controversial, this death penalty thing. We're just keeping it honest. And you're watching Midnight at the Oasis, our overnight show, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. We thank you. We're going to keep on till we start getting viewers every night. We're going to keep doing this like a telethon. We're trying to tell stories with a Parker twist. Email address, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. And now we're going to talk about the debates. Yes, there are debates coming up. There's going to be 3 of them. Yay. 3 debates coming up, but how many of them are really going to be taking place by all 3 or 2 candidates? Donald Trump agrees to 3 debates. How many does Kamala agree to? Let's listen in.
Donald Trump held an hour-long press conference in Mar-a-Lago this afternoon, announcing he's agreed with 3 different networks to do 3 debates in September.
I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th. The other side has to agree to the terms. They may or may not agree. I don't know if they're going to agree. She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview.
So that's interesting. So the 3 debates, as I write this down, he agrees to them. September 4th on Fox, September 10th on NBC, September 25th on ABC. 3 debates. And of course, he's going to pick Fox. But NBC is interesting. And ABC, at first he said he wasn't going to do it with George Snappapopoulos. But he's agreed to 3 debates. But he's saying Kamala can't do an interview, much less a debate.
But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight.
The debate on Fox would be first, but everyone's still waiting to hear from Harris. Kamala hasn't done an interview since June. It's now August. And after being shamed for hiding from the media, they forced her down the stairs of Air Force Two. Watch.
President Trump had a press conference today. He talked about a lot of things. I wonder if you have a reaction to what he's talking about.
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it and hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debates?
I'm happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th.
But Trump is ready to do it. So if you're saying that you don't want him to win, then you've got to sit there and get the American people to hear you guys talk. Don't push away from not doing any debates.
Sure. He proposed 2 more debates. Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Kamala's seen Trump end people's political careers on the debate stage, and she's never participated in a presidential debate before. Trump's done 6. So she might be pretending to have the upper hand. I hope he shows up. Come on. She's terrified, and the ball's in her court. The networks and Trump have agreed to 3. She's agreed to 1. And if she finally comes to terms, the Fox debate would be first, right after Labor Day. That would give her 2 whole weeks after her convention to prepare. That's a lot longer than Biden had to prepare. And we saw what happened there.
Yeah, it was a debatical. So Kamala, she's younger, she's more alert, energetic, she acts tough. Well, stop acting tough and be tough and do all the debates.
The Fox debate on September 4th would be before early voting starts. I know it's ridiculous to have 2 months of early voting, and the Republicans better have their act together. But shouldn't the country see these 2 square off before we cast a ballot? Kamala wants to wait as long as possible to debate Trump, because that debate could officially end the honeymoon.
What if the so-called honeymoon period doesn't end?
Oh, it's going to end. The honeymoon period's going to end. Look, she's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things. I'm not going to use foul language, but everything she's touched has turned bad. She's incompetent. She won't even do interviews with friendly people because she can't do better than Biden. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad. Just to answer your question, I think that it's not going to change because it's really ultimately not about her as much as about her policies. She wants open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to take away your guns.
I liked hearing it's not about her, it's about her policy.
I like hearing that too, whether you like Trump or not. He's focusing more on nothing against her as a person. I don't think she's any good. but it's her policies that make a difference. If he keeps focusing on that and pivots from going after their names and everything and name calling, then it's going to be an interesting, I guess, voting season. Because if he stops calling her name and making fun of her, and then Kamala just keeps focusing on, I don't like him, I've dealt with crooks and everything, and not the issues like he's doing now, it may turn the tide. Right now, I still feel that everything is up in the air. So you have to choose your fight when you're debating, and just choose your fight, period, when you're doing things in life.
I like that. The more personal it gets, the more she plays the victim and keeps the focus off substance. Kamala isn't Hillary. She's not tough. She doesn't know anything about anything, especially policy. And she's being protected like it's her first day of kindergarten. Instead of shredding her, Trump would just be better served petting her on the head. Oh, poor Kamala. This election isn't about hatred, at least not on the right. This election is about you.
Do you think Kamala Harris is worse than President Biden? I know you said you think you're very
No,
far
I think
ahead.
she's actually not as smart as he is.
Well, you said you think you're very far
I don't
ahead
think
in the
he's very
polls.
smart either, by the way. I'm not a big fan of his brain.
See, there you go. I'm not a big fan of his brain. I mean, is Joe Biden really like that? Do we really need to say that? I mean, average people, okay? They may pick up on this, and they'll be at work and somebody don't like. I'm not a fan of his brain. Okay. That's a big thing. So, Donald, as much as we love your jokes and whatever things you do, you can't be doing that. And he even says it there at the bottom of the screen. Trump, I'm not a big fan of Biden's brain. Well, whose brain are you a big fan of, Donald?
But I think that she's actually not as smart as he is.
To what do you attribute her rising in the polls as becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over from Biden?
She's a woman. She represents certain groups of people.
Well, she's a woman. That shouldn't be the reason why she's going up. Maybe she's going up because, one, it's new blood, and two, maybe she's saying something that is making her competitive to you, Donald, but not because she's a woman.
But I will say this. When people find out about her, I think she'll be much less. And I see it right now. I see her going way down in the polls now. Now that people are finding out that she destroyed San Francisco, she destroyed the state of California along with Governor Gavin Newsom. The polls have suggested, there are some polls that say we're going to win in a landslide. People are voting with their stomachs, meaning they're going to the grocery store. They're paying 50, 60, 70% more for food than they did just a couple of years ago.
I like that. People are voting with their stomachs. As your stomach is growling and you're hungry and you find out, I don't have any food, you have to go to the food bank. Do you have to go to the food bank now more than you did in the Trump era? Because if you have to go to the food bank, that means your money is going to lights, gas, electricity, phone, because I guess you need your phone. And then you're trying to get food. So if you can't buy it, you're going to go to the food bank. Think about that now. If your hardest thing is now trying to find out, do you have food in your house? Did you have food in your house 4 years ago? That's the big difference. Are you voting, like Donald Trump said, with your stomach?
Vote with your stomach. Kamala is not Joe Biden. And yes, Kamala's a woman. And there's excitement around that. You should see my mom. Suddenly she's a Kamala fanatic. Keeps talking about joy. Trump kept one dangerous woman out of the White House, and he can do it again. This country's thirsty for leadership after 4 years of Joe. And Hideaway Harris isn't going to fly. There's only so much bamboozling voters can tolerate.
Hideaway Harris. Right now, she's kind of like when Joe was in the closet, not in the closet, was in the basement through the COVID years and never came out. Now she's hiding away because she's not really talking to the public. As a leader, as the people that picked her as a leader, and we didn't pick her as a leader, she kind of picked herself. You need to be out there and talking to the people.
Right. Especially after the cover up and now the bait and switch. And you can sense in the room today, the press, thrilled they could justify their paychecks. Kamala Harris hasn't held a press conference since 2023. And that wasn't even in America. It was in Dubai.
I don't know if vice president, sorry about that. I was trying to catch that. I don't know if vice presidents are held up accountable to doing press conferences. But now she's running for president, so where's she at?
So Trump got the gang back together. Room was packed. To use the left's logo, this is what democracy looks like. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech, live exchanges of ideas without censorship, voters listening to a man vying to represent them and serve them, unscripted, without cheat sheets and teleprompters. The media misses Trump. The relationship between the press and the politicians is supposed to be tense and challenging. With Biden and Kamala, it's flaccid and corrupt. Everybody knows it. They were even up to their old tricks again.
There's been some discussion around Vice President Harris's relationship with Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco, and how that might have intersected with her career trajectory. So I'm just wondering if you followed that discussion at all.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. I haven't seen him in years. But he told me terrible things about her. But this is what you're telling me anyway, I guess. But he had a big part in what happened with Kamala. But he I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
And he's kind of still not a fan of hers. Willie Brown, he was a well-known mayor, and he took Kamala under his wing, and under his wing in more ways than one. They were dating and everything, and some people say, well, her career kind of flew because he was teaching her and putting her around the power brokers and everything. But some said it was a scandal too, but they kind of didn't hide it. We're going to look into that too. We just haven't had time. Willie Brown now is old. I think he's about 90. I was reading an article about him and everything. But he said he's proud of the people that he helped. So look at that. I mean, they said if it hadn't been a Willie Brown, it wouldn't have been a Kamala Harris. And we are Midnight at the Oasis. Keeping it honest. Email address, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. parkerman2011 at gmail.com. You can also, as I'm going through my board right here, leave me a voice message. That telephone number is 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And we will read some comments on the air on some upcoming shows. I'm setting up this next segment. I want you guys to see it. We talked about what happened to the guy.
A 54-year-old death row inmate was executed tonight for the murder of a 48-year-old mother of three he beat and strangled with her own shoelaces.
So we're going to go back to that. Technology is good. Sometimes it's not good. But we're going to talk about, so what happened to that story? That guy just gave it away, really. But the guy, Arthur Lee Burton, what happened after I did that fantastic backlog story? And remember I said a show where somebody said they hit the button by mistake? I just did that as I was going back. But what happened to this guy, Arthur Lee Burton, who killed while she was jogging? Killed while she was jogging. Okay? It was so sad. Her name was Sarah. Sarah Addison. Sorry. Sarah. Yeah. Adelman. Sarah Adelman. I'm reading here in the dark a little bit. So Sarah Adelman. So the guy, he killed her. He's been on death row since 1997, literally. And so, told the background story. Should this guy die? Should he be put to death? He's been on death row for 27 years. What should happen to this guy? Well, as we go back to this, I already gave you a clue. This is what happened. This is what happened to the guy.
A 54-year-old death row inmate was executed tonight for the murder of a 48-year-old mother of three he beat and strangled with her own shoelaces. Fox 26's Randy Wallace reports from Huntsville.
The appeal process for Arthur Lee Burton took 27 years. His lethal injection was at 6:23. He was pronounced dead at 6:48.
Arthur Burton was put to death because Texas juries believe that the punishment should fit the crime.
July 1997. 48-year-old Nancy Edelman, a mother of three, went jogging along White Oak Bayou. Burton confronted her, forced her into a nearby wooded area, and was attempting to rape her when Edelman heard someone approaching and screamed. That's when he strangled her with her own shoelaces. Investigators say Burton confessed, saying she asked, "Why was I doing it?" and that I didn't have to do it.
She asked him if he knew God, and she forgave him. And he murdered her.
Wow. She asked him, did he know God? And she forgave him. And he murdered her. Should he have been put to death specifically for that and not wait the 27 years? Wow. Such compassion for her.
He went back several times to make sure that she was dead because he said he heard her coming back to life.
Nancy Edelman's family attended the execution.
Her husband, her oldest son, her brother. Arthur Burton looked entirely different today than he looked in the hearing about his mental health and well-being and his last-ditch effort to use intellectual disability to escape the death penalty.
Burton's brother Michael was his only relative to witness the execution.
He said he was sorry, but he did not admit on the gurney as to what he did. What I want the public to know is that he beat Nancy Edelman just about half to death, and he strangled her to finish the job.
Burton is the third death row inmate to be executed in Texas this year, the 11th in the country. Reporting from Huntsville, Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
Wow, so there we go. Do the means justify the crime? I just gave information on what he did. Hate to do this on a bummer late at night, but some stories need to be told. So 27 years after he committed the crime, literally. And so I was looking at my paper taking notes. He was 27. 27-year-old who killed a 48-year-old. She's busy running. He attacked her. He choked her, strangled her with shoestrings. And as he's killing her, she asked, was he saved? And I don't know if he said yes. I mean, really, can you be saved when you're doing that hideous crime? And then she said, I forgive you. And then he killed her. And then made sure to check on her to make sure that she was dead. And he's just getting killed today or yesterday. So there you go. There's the answer. Yes, he did get killed. How many people feel sorry for him? And then his attorney saying that there was a mental disorder or disability, but you're just saying this now. So is the Supreme Court saying that we don't care, you're mentally disabled, we're going to kill you anyway? Or was that just a facade so he wouldn't get murdered or killed? Should the United States still have executions? That's interesting. That's something we can talk about too. So that's my story on that. And I thank you for listening to that. So we're going to do this again tomorrow at 12 o'clock, midnight at the Oasis. What's going to be happening? Hey, stay tuned for my long and short videos. I do interviews. I tell stories. I give the news. And we're going to be doing Trump's press conference because he's always interesting. He's got an hour-long press conference that here. So we're going to do a watch party and talk among us like when we show videos, we talk. And my phone seems to always do the alarm, so I guess that means time is up for the show tonight. So go to our Patreon page. Go to our videos. Go to our short ones. Go to our long ones. Hit like and share and subscribe. We are growing because of you. We're going to keep doing these nightly shows. Not until people watch, because then we're going to stop. But we're going to keep on doing them. Okay? And hopefully you'll watch these shows and our longs and our shorts, and we'll continue to grow. And that's what it's about. You're coming home. We want to be the news outlet that you may get some familiar news, but then you'll get it in a Parker twist. And so tell your friends. So in closing, I want you to keep your head up, never look down, always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. I thank you for watching us. We don't just keep it simple. We don't just keep it real. We keep it honest. You are at midnight at the Oasis. I'm Anthony Parker. And of course, God bless.